Welcome to the Otis Printmaking Lab. We'll be printing Untitled prints with the pasta maker. So when you get your pasta maker, you'll have the pasta maker, you'll have a clamp, the handle, and a noodle maker. First thing is we will not be needing the noodle maker. So setting up the press, you will have to put it on the edge of a table, like so, and then you will clamp it in to the side of the table. Turn the knob till it locks into place. So our press is now secure. Then we will apply the handle here in this slot, and then we are ready to go. So the knob here allows us to adjust the thickness or levels of pressure for the pasta maker. So obviously the tighter the number, the tighter the window is, and then the bigger the number, the larger the window is. So for our Akua plate, plexi plates, we are going to start it at 4. Alright, so for your image, for tracing or etching into the entire plates, we're using Akua 5x7 plates that fit into our press. So what I did was I taped our image onto the back with Scotch tape, so I'm able to trace it. So right now I'm just finishing off the drawing. So by using the scribe or etching tool, we are applying pressure to etch into our plate. Depth really helps relative to the printing process, so you don't want to be too thin. So just applying a good amount of pressure and allow the scribe to move freely. Okay, so now we're getting ready to print. So I'm going to remove my image from the back, and then your plexi should have double-sided clear sheet. So I'm going to remove the back plastic piece off of it. So now we'll be ready to print. So learning opportunity is that for any kind of type, you want to reverse your information. So right now our BLM is going to read in reverse. So you want to learn from that mistake. So now we are going to ink our plate. So we're using Akua Lamp Black ink. It is a soy oil based ink. We suggest this ink for drying time purposes. You're also able to use Speedball water based ink. But the drying time is far much quicker, and if with the wiping and the time that it takes to print, it may cause issues. So we suggest the Akua ink, but if you have Speedball ink, just work quickly. So I'm applying it with a palette knife onto my glass palette. So now we're going to card our ink on the surface. So I'm just going to use a chipboard chip. Use a cardboard chip. It's fine. And then I'm just going to card my ink onto my surface. So I'm just going to spread it along the whole plate and covering the image. And so as you can see, the etched areas is grabbing the ink and giving more depth to our image. Alright, so now the surface is fully covered. Now I'm going to wipe the surface. So I'll be using these Akua wiping sheets. And so they make it very easier to wipe the surface. So I'm going to just kind of fold mine up into sort of a ball and then gently wipe the surface. So I'm going to keep the plate in the palm of my hand and just use kind of circular motions, not trying to apply too much pressure. I just want the image off the surface but not into the engraved areas that I etched. So to get the most out of the wiping fabric, you're just refolding it so that you can maximize the wiping fabric. So now we're getting closer to our image. So I might put it on the surface now, or on the glass surface, and trying to wipe off the areas that I know I completely don't want. I'll just wipe off around the edges, not fearful of getting too close to the image. Alright, and then with the rest of the fabric, I'll just focus in more on the image area. And you just want to keep a light hand because we don't want ink to get out of our image area. Alright, so when it gets closer to the end of it, you're going to use the side of your hand and just kind of get out some excess ink. because the oil of your hand kind of attracts the ink. Just kind of like details it. Just kind of wipe off the side of your hand on your apron or onto a rag. Alright, so we should be ready to print. So in the etched areas, those are our valleys where our ink was inked up. And so by carding the ink, we are filling those valleys up with ink. But we're trying to remove the ink off the surface of the information, so that when we run it through the press, we can completely just get our drawing and not the surface area of ink. Our paper has been soaking for about 20 minutes now. And so we're using BFK Reeves. So we're going to blot our paper first before we print. So we're just using paper towels. So I'm going to hold it by the corner, let the water wring out a little bit, and just apply it on my paper towels. Then I'm just going to sandwich it with another paper towel. Just kind of just get the excess water off of it so that we can run it through the press. And by wetting the paper, it allows for it to get more ink out of the surface, and also for the paper to fall within those small little valleys and pull the ink out more than it being dry. So this helps the printing process. Okay, so now our paper is damp. So now we're going to apply it on top of our press. On top of our plate. So our paper is the same exact size of our plate. Other presses, you might want the paper to be a little bit bigger. For the pasta press, it's best that everything is the same size as the plate. So our plate is 5 by 7 inches, so our paper is 5 by 7 inches. So it makes it pretty easy to register. Cool. So now our paper is on top of our plate. So now we're going over to the press. So we have some cardstock as well that's cut 5 by 7. So I'm going to put one cardstock on top of my paper. And then I'm going to put another on the back of my plate. So now we'll be ready to print it through the pasta press. So earlier we set up the press for it to be on 4. So what we're going to do is make sure it's all sandwiched together. And then we want it to run evenly through the press. So I'm going to hold it on the top and begin to print it. Once I get it started, I'm going to switch my hands underneath so it has room to come underneath. Alright, so now we ran through the press. I'm going to take off our cardstock, and that is our print. So as you can see, it wasn't wiped fully, so this would be just a test print. In the next print, we would wipe it a little bit better. As you can see, the image is flipped based on how we etched it, and that is how you print with the pasta press. Another great opportunity with the pasta press is to do monoprinting with these acrylic plates. So another opportunity we have is you're able to paint gestures or make marks onto the plate, so that when you print it through the press, you can have these beautiful gestures of a monoprint.